What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, and we are back with another live here on the Torian Rain Reloaded channel. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit the like button, go ahead and hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you are new. And if you are new, I'm glad that you are here. Make sure to hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live, or simply join the Discord and you can be notified in there. I don't know or have any clue what's going on with the counter right now. Is low right now. I guess YouTube is doing their quarterly thing. It is what it is. But we're going to talk about this topic today. And I'm going to actually go live over on Instagram as well, just in case people can't get over to YouTube for whatever reason, so we can multi-stream on both of those platforms. But before we get into all of that, let me go ahead and acknowledge the people who are here so far in the chat. We got Wallow J, Miss Nisi, Ozzy Edwards, Firebat, Raging Woody 74, Cosmo Fury, Dewani Nelson, Church, Tanji2936, Sybil, DSM Sinister. We got Pam Entertainment TV, Letitia, Gina. Shout out to each and every one of you. And if there's anybody that comes in over on Instagram, shout out to you as well. So we are going to be talking about a rather heavy and very upsetting and maddening topic today. I don't feel like I have to ask anybody what they know about the story, or if they not rather have they heard of it, because I feel like this is a topic or a story that everybody in here or everyone who's going to watch this is definitely familiar with, and that is the unfortunate death of Caleb Wilson. Now, for those of y'all who have been living under a rock, Caleb Wilson was a 20-year-old student who went to Southern University. He was in the band. And, you know, the last time people probably saw him live on a national stage was when he was performing with the band during the pre-show at the Super Bowl, because Southern University's band performed during the pre-show before, you know, the game began. And unfortunately, that would be the last time people would see him alive on a global scale. But of course, people at the time wouldn't even know who he is. That would probably be one of the last time his family saw him alive. Maybe some friends would have saw him alive, and whatever the case may be, because unfortunately 2 weeks later he ended up losing his life while he was online pledging Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Now, as a person who went to an HBCU, I'm very familiar with the Divine Nine, or the BGLO, or Black Greek lettered organizations. I know quite a few people, you know, from people I went to undergrad with and everything like that. And I can honestly say I'm glad none of them would actually engage in any activity such as that. And I've never heard no stories from my school that I went to. It ever never went down like that. But unfortunately, he ended up losing his life online because of what they called ritualistic pledging. And it's a lot of details that came out about it. It was still a lot of updates coming. One thing that I really did appreciate about this story when I first heard about it was when I said, I hope this story gets legs, but I have the feeling that it won't. But I'm so glad I was proven to be wrong, because the story ended up gaining so much traction, like on a national level. And a lot of people did end up learning more about the story, because this could have been one of those things where they could have buried it and kept it just at the local level. But it gained so much attention that now it's on a national level, and it has everybody talking about it, and it's staying in the news, which I truly believe that it definitely should. So I just gave y'all the summarized version of it, but we're going to go through some things. And I tried to, you know, of course, whenever I do stuff like this, I try to have it in some kind of sequential order to make sure that it flows properly. Also, shout out to, we got David in here. Church said they got the notification through Discord. See, that's why I tell people I got to join that Discord. Yeah, because I don't know what's been going on with the notifications lately over here, but I noticed they haven't been going out like that for when I do the premiere videos, nor have they been going out that like that for the lives, because I noticed both have been low lately, but it is what it is. I don't know what it could possibly be, but whatever. But also shout out to Tamika's Den. Also just entered the chat as well, and Pinky JYB. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go through a couple of things as it pertains to this story. So the first thing we're going to go over is this USA Today article that was posted on February 28th, 2025, the last day of February, which is right around the time when the story itself first broke. It says Southern University student and band member dies off campus in fraternity ritual. Just reading when it says ritual like that, that just sounds automatic that anyone involved, like that just sounds sketchy already. A student and band member at Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, died during an off-campus incident. An online statement from University Chancellor John K. Pierre confirmed. Caleb Wilson, a junior from New Orleans, attended Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, the statement said. Police did not immediately respond to USA Today's request for comment Friday, but Wilson reportedly died from an off-campus fraternity event this week, prompting the university to pause all membership and intake activities, according to local media outlets WVUE and WDSU. Southern University is cooperating fully with the Baton Rouge Police Department, which is leading the investigation, Pierre said in a statement. According to WVUE, Wilson had been participating in a ritual with members of Omega Psi Phi at North Sherwood Forest Community Park. Citing police, WVUE reported that Wilson and other pledges stood in a line as part of the initiation process when he suddenly collapsed. He was rushed to a Baton Rouge hospital where he was pronounced dead at 3:15 a.m. Friday, WVUE reported. An autopsy is underway, according to television station WDSU. The outlet added that Southern University and A&M College sent a letter to all fraternities, sororities, and clubs on Southern University's campus. The organizations have been ordered to stop membership intake activities until further notice to ensure the safety and well-being of the student body, WDSU reported. So as you can see, this affected every Greek organization on campus, not just the Qs, even though they were the ones that chapter was the one responsible for what happened to Caleb Wilson, but they paused it for everybody, no matter who it is. When reached by phone Friday morning, Omega Psi Phi declined to comment. Wilson was majoring in mechanical engineering and was a member of the university's Human Jukebox Marching Band, according to the university's chancellor. The marching band shared thoughts on his passing as well, calling him an incredible part of our Jaguar family, as well as a talented trumpet player, a dedicated student, and a bright soul. He also attended Pilgrim Baptist Church in Kenner. Caleb's music was a gift to us all, the church wrote, sharing a video of him performing. According to the WDSU, Wilson's father, Corey, retired from the Jefferson Parish office in 2024 after working there for 35 years. The office issued a statement following his son's death. On behalf of Sheriff Joseph Lapinto, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office extended its condolences to Deputy Corey Wilson and his family following the heartbreaking loss of his son. The JPSO stands in support of Deputy Wilson and his family. We ask that their privacy be respected as they mourn this unimaginable loss. Wilson's family said in a statement Friday that they're grateful for the kind words from the community and described Wilson as bright, talented, and had a promising future. We are committed to seeking the truth about the circumstances surrounding Caleb's passing and ensuring that no other family has to endure such a tragedy. We appreciate the efforts of the Baton Rouge Police Department, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, and the Southern University community in their ongoing investigation support. Congressman Troy A. Carter shared kind words for the student's family. His life was tragically cut short, and I cannot begin to imagine the depth of your pain, he wrote. And I will keep you and the entire community in my thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. So that right there is a backstory, like a little backstory article that was written up about Caleb Wilson and what happened. What they knew at the time, that is, of what happened. And again, shout out to everybody that's in the chat. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Now we're going to segue over to a statement mentioned by the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated organization. Because remember, the previous article, they said that they hadn't released a statement yet. Now they have. It says Omega Psi Phi breaks silence after HBCU scholar dies from hazing ritual at Southern University. Southern University, located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, has officially suspended all fraternity and sorority activities after the sudden death of a student last week. Caleb Wilson, a 20-year-old junior studying mechanical engineering, died after an off-campus fraternity event. According to Baton Rouge police, the event happened with members of Omega Psi Phi at North Sherwood Forest Community Park. During the ritual, members were standing in a line when Wilson reportedly collapsed. He was rushed to Baton Rouge Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Local outlets WAFB 9 reported that an autopsy is being performed to determine his exact cause of death. Law enforcement officials have not confirmed nor denied if hazing was involved. Oh, that's definitely what it was. Sergeant Legene McNeely said the matter is currently being investigated. All that information the detectives will look at, and that will determine where we will go. Wilson, who graduated from Warren Easton High School, was a musician and member of the Southern Humanist Jukebox Marching Band. The organization paid homage to his family in a moving Facebook post calling Wilson was a talented trumpet player, a dedicated student, and a bright soul. Southern University also released a statement. Southern University and A&M College is aware of an off-campus incident that may have resulted in the death of a student, Caleb Wilson, a junior from New Orleans, majoring in mechanical engineering. The institution also extended condolences to Wilson's loved ones. It says Southern is cooperating fully with the Baton Rouge Police Department, which is in charge of the investigation. No further information is available at this time. The school has not commented whether the fraternity will face sanctions or further investigations. According to WFAB 9, the international headquarters for Omega Psi Phi fraternity released a statement addressing Wilson's death. It is with profound sorrow that we extend our condolences on the passing of Caleb Wilson. His loss is deeply felt, and our hearts go out to his family, friends, and all who were touched by him. Caleb was more than a beloved son, grandson, brother, nephew, and cousin. He was a scholar and an exceptional member of the Southern University Marching Band and a passionate and dedicated leader in student life. We have been informed that the local authorities have launched an investigation into this tragic incident, and we fully support their efforts to seek the truth. Currently, our foremost priority is standing in unwavering support of Caleb's family. We have extended ourselves to them and are ready to assist in any way possible during this difficult time. The statement added, addressing how many of you may have questions, and we are actively working to gather accurate information. The statement concluded, in the meantime, we ask for your patience, your prayers, and solidarity as we honor Caleb's memory and support those grieving his loss. So really the main focal point of this article is this statement that was given out by the Omega Psi Phi fraternity main headquarters right there. Like I said, people, I'm telling you something right now, heads going to be rolling behind this. That's all I'm going to say. I think that's what it's going to end up boiling down to. And understand this, y'all. I think I read somewhere where it was an act that was signed into law because there was a kid who went to it was a white student that went to a PWI, and he was pledging a fraternity, and he ended up dying, and they named an act after him. And I think it was in Louisiana. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. And I think they're going to try to apply that to this case right here. So that's the statement from the school. Not the school, but the organization. Now we're going to look at something that I saw on HBCU Buzz, a page that I follow on Instagram. It says a recent update on Caleb Wilson via WFAB. Sources close to the investigation into Southern University student Caleb Wilson's death revealed to the WFABI team that the initial story given to the police that Wilson collapsed at a Baton Rouge BREC park was false. So they gave a fake narrative. According to the sources, Wilson and other pledges of Omega Psi Phi were actually at a warehouse in Baton Rouge during an unsanctioned fraternity ritual wherein he was punched in the chest, mind you, multiple times. It wasn't a one-time hit. He was hit multiple times, most likely with so much force that it probably cracked something. It probably fractured something internally. He was later pronounced dead at a local hospital. The sources claim there were 9 pledges in the line, each allegedly forced to endure blows to the chest. When Wilson was struck, he reportedly collapsed suffering a seizure at the warehouse. Wallow J says sue the school and the school. I think you mean fraternity. Well, the fraternity is definitely going to catch hell behind this one. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if it's gonna if anything's gonna happen to the school, because they said it was unsanctioned, which means they did this outside of the school's what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not want to say supervision. It's a word I can't think of. Because when they say unsanctioned, that means this is something that they basically did on their own that wasn't approved. Without their approval. Grounds. While I guess you can approval, grounds, jurisdiction. That's the word, Ozzy. That's even better. Outside of the school's jurisdiction. So by that happening, that actually protects the school. But it doesn't protect the chapter. Like the chapter is definitely, they're going to be paying like a whole bunch of fines. The organization as a whole is going to be paying some fines as well. They're most likely going to suspend the chapter for a number of years behind this. Usually they'll give them like maybe a year or so, but they might be off the campus they might have years behind them, their suspension, which, you know what, if it boils down to it, hey, it is what it is. So there's that part right there. So when this part right here that I just read to you came out, that's when the story really became even more interesting as it moved forward. So I also wanted to share with you this part right here. It says, please keep the family of Caleb Wilson in your prayers. When Caleb's father went to his son's apartment after his passing, his human jukebox uniform was laid out on his bed to perform in the Mardi Gras parades. He was supposed to be performing in the Mardi Gras parade. That was the last time that he was in his room. Now, understand, imagine, and I think that's his dad sitting right there. Imagine going to your son's room and the last thing you see on his bed is his marching band uniform because he was getting ready to perform, and that's the last time he was alive. That was the last time he was in the room. That his dad probably broke down right there just having to see that. That was probably the last time anybody who was there probably saw him alive too. Like any friends or anything like that. Let me move on to this next part right here. So now it's getting even more interesting because now we have the arrest, but this is talking about Caleb McRae. Now, Caleb McRae was the first person that they arrested when it came to this situation right here. And of course, if you look at the title, he bonded out. I'm trying to figure out who in the world gave this man a bond. He should not have had a bond, in my honest opinion. They should not have given him a bond. But let's go ahead and see what they're talking about in this news clip.
Just out of court as bond now set for a suspect accused in the death of a Southern University student.
So investigators say 20-year-old Caleb Wilson died during a hazing incident as he was pledging for a fraternity. WDS reporter Shay O'Connor joins us now with the latest details in the arrest of another fraternity member in the case. Shay?
Good evening to you, Stella and Gina. Yet today, a Baton Rouge judge set a bond for Caleb McRae at $100,000. He's a former Southern University student and also a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. He's accused of playing a part in a hazing incident that contributed to the death of Caleb Wilson.
He was more than just a peer. He was more than just a friend. He was like a family member to me.
John Rhodes says he and Caleb Wilson went to Warren Easton High School. They were bandmates and traveled the world together through a musical program organized by Trombone Shorty.
We grew up in a band together. I was a crab, or so-called a newbie on the line. And he took me in as like a big brother.
Rhodes says losing Wilson has brought unimaginable pain for him and the Warren Easton community.
Every time I'm around him, just positive energy, always fun, always games. And also, he wasn't just a goofball, but he was also a leader, a brother, example.
Caleb Wilson died as the direct result of a hazing incident where he was punched in the chest multiple times while pledging to Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Friday, Baton Rouge police confirmed the 20-year-old engineering student and member of Southern University's Human Jukebox died as a result of a hazing ritual. Police say a group of males dropped Wilson off to a hospital, claiming he'd collapsed during a basketball game at a park.
Hold on, y'all. For some reason, my mic was starting to disconnect. My bad. I think I'm back now. But did y'all hear that? They said that he had collapsed during a basketball game at the park. That was the initial story that they went with. When the whole time they knew exactly what it was. That's going to add on to the charges and the time that I hope they receive, just on the strength of them lying the way that they did about what happened. A basketball game, y'all. Oh, yeah, we know about that, Ian Morgan, about them changing his clothes. I thought that was very odd as well.
But officials say that's not the case. An arrest warrant affidavit obtained says members of the fraternity used boxing gloves to punch pledges in the chest at a warehouse in Baton Rouge, and that Wilson was punched in the chest at least 4 times before he had a seizure and became unresponsive.
We have 2 additional suspects that we are drawing up warrants for and working with their attorneys to turn themselves in later today.
Rhodes says he won't let his friend's death be in vain. He hopes this makes Greek organizations put a halt on hazing.
Adding that physical brutality is just not needed. It's not called for. You could put somebody to earn their letters another way without actually physically hitting on them.
And Southern University did release a statement saying that a cease and desist for the Omega Psi Phi chapter at the school was done. Also, all intake for Greek organizations have also stopped for the remainder of the school year at Southern University. And of course, this is an ongoing situation. We'll continue to keep you updated. Reporting live from New Orleans, Shay O'Connor.
All right, so that's that story right there. Ms. Nietzsche said, what was stuffed inside the boxing gloves? I don't know if anything was stuffed inside of the boxing gloves. In case y'all don't know what Ms. Nietzsche is talking about, he was not punched just with their bare hands. They had boxing gloves on when they hit him. Now, you got to understand something. Just because you have boxing gloves on and it has that padding in there does not mean a hit to the chest is going to soften the blow, opposed to what a regular fist would do. As a matter of fact, you would probably want to do better, even though getting hit with a regular fist would definitely hurt, depending on the force behind it. Imagine the force with your fist inside of a boxing glove. That will hurt even more. Take it from somebody who has hit the heavy bag a couple of times over the years with boxing gloves on. And when I would take my hands out of the glove, sometimes my knuckles would be bleeding because I would be hitting it hard, because eventually you start to hit past that cushion. So imagine doing that on a human body versus a heavy bag that's filled with some very thick padding. And like Inspired Truth said, they're made for protecting the hands. So that means they were hitting him very hard. And they said he got hit 4 times. So he got hit with some immense force. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to this next article right here, where it says Southern University confirms all 3 suspects in hazing death are current students.
WAFB. This is 9 News at 6.
Thanks for being here, friends. I'm Elizabeth Valla. My partner Greg is on assignment. We start with breaking developments from the WAFB I-team. Over the past 2 hours, a second suspect wanted for the hazing death of Southern student Caleb Wilson has been captured with the help of the Middle Louisiana Fugitive Task Force. Kyle Thurman was taken into custody around 3:30 this afternoon at his home in Port Allen. Our sources say he had a deadline to turn himself in over the weekend, and when he did not show, investigators went looking for him today. Meanwhile, when minutes mattered, arrest documents show fraternity members appear to be in no rush to get help for Southern student Caleb Wilson the night he collapsed after being hit in the chest. Documents show they took time to change his clothes before dropping him off at the hospital. Those details are raising new questions about the timeline of events the night he died. It comes as funeral arrangements have finally been made to remember his young life. Our chief investigator, Chris Nakamoto, is here now with more on what he's learned today. And Chris, it is a lot.
Good evening, Liz. 3 individuals are all facing felony hazing charges. A second suspect, as you just said, Kyle Thurman, is in custody tonight in connection with Wilson's death. The East Baton Rouge Parish Coroner's Office confirmed to WAFB today Wilson's body was released to a funeral home late last week, but tonight the cause and manner of death is still pending further testing. This is exclusive video of 23-year-old Caleb McCrae.
Look at that walk of shame. Look at it. He better be lucky that nobody was outside waiting for him, except for the car to pick him up and the news crew that was there to record him leaving out of the jail that he was being held at.
Walking out of the East Baton Rouge Parish Jail late Friday night. It happened hours after Commissioner Keena Kimball set his bond at $100,000. McCrae is charged with the most serious charges tied to the death of Caleb Wilson: criminal hazing and manslaughter, both felonies. Now we've learned frat members from Omega Psi Phi who were gathered at this white warehouse where pledges were taking blows to the chest with boxing gloves appeared to be in no rush to get Wilson medical assistance at the hospital.
That's going to play a huge part too. They were in no rush to get him medical assistance. So that tells me that Caleb Wilson could have possibly survived if they got him the medical attention right then and there. But like I've spoken with other people about this offline, I said they probably panicked and were scared. And the more and more they panicked, the more and more his life was slipping away. So by the time they decided to make the move to get him to the hospital, that's when he was pronounced dead. Because there was a lot of time that passed between the time he collapsed and the time they got him to the hospital. And they say dropped him off at the hospital. So when they say dropped him off, like how did y'all drop him off? Like, did y'all just like dump him there, or did y'all just go in there? Like, I would like to know what the process was for that. I need them to interview the medical personnel who was on staff when that happened, when he was brought in. What was that exchange like?
Don't have exact timeline that we're ready to release as far as when Caleb first collapsed at this warehouse and then when he arrived at the hospital.
The exact events and how they transpired inside are still murky, but we have a clearer picture of the delay in seeking help for Wilson from arrest documents. Warrants show after Caleb collapsed, the pledges moved to a separate room where leadership attended to Wilson. Wilson was later loaded into a vehicle and transported to BRG Bluebonnet, where he was pronounced dead by medical personnel. It should be noted that Wilson's clothing was changed prior to his arrival at the hospital. It was around 2:40 in the morning when
now, at first I was questioning why they had changed his clothes, but then I think I'm starting to figure it out now, because remember, the initial story they told was that he had collapsed after playing basketball. Now, of course, you know, when you're playing basketball, you get sweaty, your clothes and everything like that. For anyone who doesn't know, when people typically are online doing their thing, their clothes can probably get a little dirty, a little dingy and everything like that, because they'll have them sometimes wearing the same clothes over and over and over again throughout the process. And the thing is that they saw his clothes looked a particular way, then they would have been questioning some things. So let's go ahead and change his clothes into something a little bit more cleaner, quote unquote, and they won't question it. But I'm sure, like I said, there's something called autopsy. Their story wouldn't have lined up anyway. So they did all of that for nothing.
Uniformed officers were dispatched to the hospital, where staff advised investigators that males who dropped him off said he collapsed at a Breck Park. That lie unraveled, as the I-Team reported last week. They were never at a park for that unsanctioned hazing ritual and were inside this warehouse instead. Sources say once Wilson collapsed inside the warehouse, he never regained consciousness. Clothes were changed, and he was driven to the hospital, all while he was unresponsive. Tonight, we've learned in addition to the charges McCrae faces, 2 other individuals are also facing felony criminal hazing charges.
And as we said, Thurman was arrested in Port Allen with the help of U.S. Marshal's Office. One other individual, Isaiah Smith, is supposed to turn himself in tomorrow. Smith is the son of Todd Smith, who leased the warehouse where the hazing happened. Southern says all 3 suspects are current students. For the WAFBI team, I'm Chris Nakamoto. Liz?
All right, just such a tough story all the way around, Chris. Thank you. So funeral arrangements have now been set for Caleb Wilson. Friday, Southern University will have a visitation and a candlelight vigil. Times will be announced a little later. A funeral service will follow Saturday in Kinner at Pilgrim Baptist Church. That will happen at 10 o'clock in the morning.
All right, so there it is. And I'm almost certain that it's going to be a huge turnout for this event. It's probably going to be people going to travel to go to that, for those who they felt like they were affected by the story. It's sad either way. Only 20 years old, y'all. Only 20. And like some people said in the chat, they were changing his clothes because he had on his set clothes. For those of y'all who don't know what set clothes are, that white t-shirt is a dead giveaway. And if they found out and they saw him come up in there with those clothes on, they would have put 2 and 2 together. But the thing is, they figured it out anyway. So they, again, did all of that for nothing. If they would have just took him to the hospital when he collapsed, and right then and there, he probably could have been saved. And of course, there would have been some consequences with that, definitely, for sure. But it wouldn't have blown up the way that it did. It would have probably been one of them here today, gone tomorrow stories. As a matter of fact, it may not have even been a story. But because of the sloppiness, like someone said in the chat that they did, and he ended up dying, now everyone knows about the story. It's pretty much gone viral at this point. And I'm glad that it's staying in the news. I'm glad that they're not just putting it out there and it's one of those things, blink and you'll miss it type of deals. That's one thing I'm glad that they did with this story, is that they're keeping it in rotation. More so, I would say that the people are keeping it alive, honestly. Especially on social media, are the ones that's keeping this story moving, which I'm very appreciative of. It's like Tangi just said, it's a heartbreaking story, but I'm glad that it's staying out there because, again, it could have been one of them things where it was here today, gone tomorrow. Now, the last thing I'm going to show y'all is a mugshot of all 3 degenerates. Now, the first one, we all know, the one in the middle, Caleb McCrae. He's the main culprit. He's the one that is believed to be the one to have landed the death blows that caused Caleb Wilson to lose his life. Now, I don't know the names. I think they mentioned the name of one of the other ones, but I don't know the name of the third one. But either way, here's all 3 of them. This is all 3 of the monsters that are responsible for what happened to Caleb Wilson in one way or another. And all 3 of them are going to get, hopefully, exactly what they deserve. And I hope it's harsh and I hope it is painful. Yes, I said it. I hope they suffer the same way that Caleb Wilson has suffered. In my honest opinion, I don't see how either one of them walks from this. Especially with how they, quote unquote, handled this situation or didn't handle it. Hey, Wallow, I can't even disagree with that comment. Pam says ages 23, 25, and 28. What? Well, that's crazy. Yeah, because a lot of people say, like, when you look at the ages of them, they say, what are they still doing there? Well, usually when people are online or they're pledging, they'll have people who used to go to the school who probably pledged that chapter come in and aid in the process. Because let me be real with y'all here. I don't even consider what they did to Caleb Wilson as pledging. That was torture. Usually when you think of hazing, you think of some things that you could see like on TV, like it's almost like they do things to make them do embarrassing things or something like that, almost like a humiliation thing. It's never something that's supposed to be torturous. So now they're done. They are done. I'm putting up my pin in that right now. All three of these, especially that one in the middle, they're done for. They are definitely going to get some jail time for sure. They're going to be paying a boatload of fines. The chapter is going to be suspended. They're going to be paying fines. The organization as a whole is going to be paying fines out the you know what. And what they did affected everybody else that had nothing to do with it. You know how they say one spoiled apple ruins the bunch? I present to you three of them. But y'all, I'm about to go ahead now and drop the link. I'm going to go ahead and end the live over on Instagram. Like I said, if you are on Instagram and you want to join the conversation, make sure y'all go ahead and head on over to YouTube and you can join the panel discussion over there. But shout out to everybody on Instagram, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. All right, let me go ahead and move my stuff over so I can go ahead and drop the link. What's going on, Auntie Moochie? I saw you in the Instagram chat earlier. I appreciate you. So, hold on. Yeah, but this story had me heated when I first saw it. And the more and more details that came out, it pissed me off even more than I wanted or needed to be. All right, let's see. The first person we got coming up, Wallow, what's going on?
What's going on, Torian? What's going on, everybody in the chat? First off, I love to send my condolences to this young man and his family, because what I'm about to say real quick ain't gonna be for the weak of heart. Because how you gonna sit up there and do some bullshit that late at night at 2:30 in the morning when most young folks are out partying? You go do something like that. You go punch him in the chest. Like I know Cosman and some other people saying, punching him probably made his heart go out off rhythm. Punching him as hard as you can in his chest. And then you try to fabricate the story so you don't get charged with any damn thing. Fuck all three of them. I hope all of them. You know what? All of them get essayed when they go in there. That's all I got to say.
I appreciate you coming up, Wallow. All right, next person we got coming up, Jonathan. What's going on?
What's up, man? Yeah. So I've heard about this story. I've seen it trending on my timeline, and I must say, I don't like hazing. I hate the hazing stuff. I hate the stuff that they put those dudes through just to get into a fraternity. I'm actually glad that I didn't go to college. Well, I went, but I wasn't gonna get to any of that. So what happened? Like me and my mom, we heard too many stories about it. We heard about a kid who they dumped so much alcohol on him, and he just passed out and died. Like too many deaths went down during all the hazing just to get it in something. The NFL and NBA, they be doing hazing, but it don't be like that at the over there with the fraternities. Like the fraternities, there's just so much rituals and demonic type of stuff, like life risk stuff that you got to do to get in those pledges. And I wouldn't even pay $10 to get into all that if I have to hate someone else to death just to get them to involved. But yeah, I'm just gonna land my plane right there, and rest in peace to him and condolences to his family. Be one.
Appreciate you. Be one. All right, shout out to Jonathan for coming up. Next up, we got Cosmo. What's going? And I'm glad you came up because now we can definitely get it from a medical standpoint.
Yes. Hey, how you doing, Torian?
I'm doing
Now,
good.
remember the whole situation with the football player, right? Remember on the field?
Yeah,
This is
the Bills player, right?
exactly. This is that on steroids, basically. All it takes is one good hit. Imagine being hit repeatedly in the chest. And also, my paramedic teacher, I'm not a paramedic yet, but my teacher that taught me EMS told us stories, and his co-teacher confirms it, that he got that my teacher struck him in the chest to restart his heart because he was having a myocardial infarction, which is a technical name for a heart attack. And he hit him with a blow. So imagine a blow that can put your heart back in rhythm can also take it out of rhythm. So imagine being punched repeatedly, your heart stressor. That's why the seizure came on, because his body was being thrown off, being thrown back, forth. It's all out of whack. And then blunt force trauma, add that to it. When you bruising those vessels and the ventricles, and start. I'm sorry if I'm going to go over a little bit limit, but
You know,
it's like this.
you good, because actually, because like I said, from a medical standpoint, I really want to hear this. I think the family needs to know about it too, for those who don't know how this works.
This how basically, I'm in the middle of recertifying, so this is fresh on my mind. The way it works, the four valves, the four chambers of your heart, is your upper atrium. The atriums are the upper left and right. The blood enters the heart through the right atrium, goes down into the right ventricle, goes through the lungs, and then goes into the left ventricle and back up into the left atrium and back into the body. Now imagine you need all of that because blood carries oxygen, you know, and you need all that to go through your system. Imagine your heart, which is your heart and your brain are like the two biggest computers in your body. If you want to get technical, imagine your heart, which is a vital organ, being basically destroyed from, I mean, being compromised for doing what it needs to do. And this is why that happened. And the fact that they withheld him from getting medical attention to cover their own ass just shows why they need to be thrown away. And they need to be locked up, and the key need to be thrown away.
Definitely.
That's how I'm gonna land it on my plane, because the heart. Everybody know we don't play games with the heart. I got dehydrated 2 years ago and had to go into the hospital. I didn't even feel like I was deprived. They just threw my heart into what we call an atrial fibrillation, when your heart is just jumping. If you don't get that underway, it can cause basically your heart to stop because out of the rhythm, and you end up your heart stopping, cardiac arrest, death. And that's how I'm going to sit on land my plane. Thank you for having me up, man.
No problem.
All right.
Thanks to Cosmo for coming up and giving the medical perspective of this situation. I'm glad that he came up, because he definitely knows how all of this works. And it's like, even though to some people it might sound kind of foreign to what he was saying, it's very, very, very serious. But Damar Hamlin, that's who I was talking about, the football player that collapsed on the field. He practically died on the field. Let's just be real. He died on that field. And they had to come on there and they had to bring him back to life. All right, next up, Pam from Pam Entertainment TV. What's going on? Now I know you're gonna have the insight, because this is your lane right here.
You know, I do want to, hello, Torian and everybody in the chat. I do want to again thank Cosmo Fury for giving us the medical terminology of what happened to this young man. My blood is completely boiling. And as you had talked about earlier about the young man, how this hazing law started, it was a young, what's the Sigma Chi, I think it is, the white fraternity. They had plied him with so much alcohol in this game of where they turn you upside down, they put the tube in your mouth, and you're supposed to chug as much alcohol as you can. And he did, and he got alcohol poisoning and passed away. And I don't know if you all have noticed this, because, again, I always say people are not as old as I am, and I can probably remember the things that Methuselah remembered. But I remember, it seems like every 8 to 10 years, we get a story like this. And a lot of times, and like I said, it happens on all fraternities and sororities, whether you're part of D9, whether you're part of white sororities and fraternities. But every 8 to 10 years, we get this happening. And it makes no sense to me why this continues. There is no reason, and it has been done successfully in several of these organizations and several of these chapters, that people can pledge and they not be physically harmed, they not do any of these things. And I get so tired of hearing it, and I really get really tired of seeing it and hearing it in regards to Black folks. There is no reason why you need to be beating on anybody to say that they are your brother, that they are your sister, and you there's no reason for that. And for this young man to have lost his life, and not only to have lost his life, the callous nature of me now understanding, because that you changed his clothes. He could have been down there grasping for air. And again, thank you so much for giving me that, because now you start thinking this man could have been gasping for air, and y'all are running around here trying to change his clothes. This 23 and 25 and 28-year-olds. So I want the book thrown at him, and I'm hoping that, and I hate to say this, but I'm saying it anyway. Maybe like the folks down in Mobile, Alabama, when they had pruned a young man from the timeline like he was strange fruit, and they bankrupt the KKK. Maybe we need to bankrupt one of these organizations so that it can be seared in their minds to understand that they have such a responsibility about all these people pledging, and all these they are responsible for these people's safety. And if it has not worked with older pledges, or people who have pledged a fraternity or sorority coming back, you need to find a different way to do this. And you need to find a way that if these types of underground things starts happening, not only should you ban the chapters, I'm thinking that possibly we need to bankrupt some of these places. I understand that D9 organizations do great things within the community, but death should not be something for these young people, and that's where I will land.
I agree, but I thank you, Pam, for coming up. All right, shout out to Pam Entertainment TV for coming up, and make sure if y'all haven't subscribed to her channel, she does have a YouTube channel under the same name. Make sure y'all go ahead and subscribe to that. I would appreciate it, and so would she. All right, next we got Brother Sankofa. What's going on?
Hey, peace, bro. Thank you for bringing me on. It's my first time actually commenting.
No problem.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, man, that well, first, thank you for highlighting this, because like the sister said, this happens almost like I say probably every 5 years, and probably even more often than that. We just don't see the story in the news or whatever. But
that's why I said I'm glad that this story stayed in the news that it did, because it could have been one of those blink today and you'll miss it type of stories. And I'm glad that it got more traction. And I said, if he had not had died, it probably wouldn't have, but because he did, and the lengths that they went to try to cover it, I think the covering up part is what really did it.
Yeah, well, I don't know what quite did it, or what the dynamics were that caused the story to stay present, where I could get a chance to see it. But I'm glad it did, because like I said, it happens a lot more often. I went to Florida A&M, and I had friends who pledged and stuff like that, and I've seen some horror stories. People being having been beat so bad to where like they got blood clots and stuff on their butts, on their gluteus. You know what I'm saying, stuff like that. But my whole point in actually calling in was to say that this is a symptom of a much larger problem to me. Going to a HBCU and seeing these, not just Divine Nine, but just so-called who's supposed to be the Black leadership class, being trained to become our next level of our next generation of professionals and stuff. This is absolutely condoned and like and made possible by white power, because they know that this is their next batch of coons coming up. You know what I'm saying? They want this type of dysfunction happening among these organizations and happening among, Black college students. So, I think we need to really wake up and understand that, all the Ricky Smileys and the Steve Harveys and all these people that are connected to these organizations, they don't happen in a silo. They don't come out of nowhere. This is getting conditioned and bred, this anti-Blackness within, so-called Black leadership classes.
Yeah.
But I land with that.
No problem. Thanks for coming up. But yeah, it's like I said, it's unfortunate all the way around. But like I said, in the initial part of the story, heads will definitely be rolling. I don't know. Like for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. If this is definitely going to most likely go to trial. If I was Caleb Wilson's dad, y'all bet not put me behind. Well, first off, I wouldn't even be behind them, because that would be on the defensive side. I would be on the other side. Y'all better make sure there's not a clear path between me and those three. That's all I'm gonna say. Because we've seen stories where people have leaped over desks. I'm talking about do Olympic style triathlon leaps over desk to get to the people that done their family wrong in whatever capacity. That would probably be me. So you just better make sure that there's not a clear open path for me to get from one side of the courtroom to the other, because they gonna end up going into holding, and so will I. They gonna hold me in contempt. I'm just saying. All right, next up we got AW1. What's going on?
Yeah, hey Torin, hey Chad. Yeah, all I can say is, they need to just lock all those guys up, them fools up.
Yeah.
And when I heard that they took off, changed his clothes to where during that time you could have got him help, but you're worried about covering your ass.
Exactly.
Yeah, lock him up.
Exactly. That's all it was caring about at the time. So like now you just shown there's a selfish nature that you was only worried about saving your own. You know what? And not him. He's the one that needed the medical attention.
Right. And here's the thing, and I'm gonna land with this. When it comes to boxing gloves, yes, it could do more damage.
Yeah.
I use punching. I got pair of box gloves myself. I messed up my hands a few times.
Why do you think, like, if you see people during a street fight and they're hitting with their bare hands, it takes a few hits unless you got like a mean, like, that's what I always tell people. If a person knocks somebody out with one hit with their bare hands, that person probably has boxed before, so they know the technique. But typically that's rare that happens. But you see more people who, if they're fighting, it takes a few hits to the face or whatever for someone to get knocked out. Even if they get knocked out, it's going to take a lot to do it. You know, it might take a couple of body shots to knock the wind out of it. It's a combination. You hit somebody with a boxing glove, especially if they're not expecting it with enough force, you can knock them out with one hit almost every time.
Exactly. And not to mention, his body obviously wasn't built for that. He's not a professional fighter. So, yeah.
Exactly. And they said these were straight body shots. They said he got hit 4 times.
Jeez.
So you got to think. And the thing is, they said they did that to all of the people, because they said it was 9 of them. They said they did it to all of them, but he was the only one that collapsed. He's the only one that died. So, and it makes you wonder, how many times were they planning on doing that? He got hit 4 times. And how many times in a row was it 4 consecutive hits, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or did they hit them going down the line? And by the time it got to number 4, that's the one that made him collapse.
Well, either way, it cost him his life, and they need to lose theirs. All right, I'll land with that.
All right, appreciate you coming up. All right, shout out to AW1 for coming up, and I think AW1 was the last person for him to come up and speak to this. I do appreciate people coming up and speak, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think many people was gonna come up and speak to this because of how heavy the topic is. Edwin says, did the boxing glove have Brad? Someone else asked that question too. Someone asked, did they have weights inside of the gloves? I don't know. They better hope to God that it wasn't, because then they're gonna have more issues on their hands. But I'm gonna try to stay on top of this to see if it was, because a lot of people are asking, was there something inside of those gloves to cause that? If not, that means they just hit hard enough for him to collapse. If they did, then they're gonna have even more problems on their hands. But we'll see what happens, because like I said, I'm glad that the story is staying in rotation. It's constantly staying in the ether. People are still constantly talking about it. It's more stuff still coming out. I'm sure there's probably going to be some more stuff that's going to come out by this time next week. And, we'll just stay on top of it. I'm sure there's definitely going to be a trial. I have no doubt in my mind that there will be a trial. It probably won't happen this year. And if it does, it'll probably be towards the end of the year. But, they got to build up a case and all of that good stuff before they can go to court. But anyway, y'all. And also, good point in Kashama. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. You said they didn't need weights. You never know what conditions a person has. That's another point. I don't know if Caleb Wilson had any underlying conditions or not. But either way, they hit him in a way that caused him to lose his life, which means they damaged something internally in his system. And then you got to think where at on the chest they hit him, because they probably fractured something. They probably cracked something in that chest cavity. For sure. But anyway, y'all, I'm going to go ahead now and end the live on that note. Shout out to everybody who watched over on Instagram. Shout out to everybody over here. It's Wednesday, so if you're on Patreon, y'all got the Patreon video coming this evening, so make sure to check that out. Shout out to all of the members over here, all the mods. Shout out. Hold on. Wait a minute, y'all. We're not done just yet. Church want to pop in as I'm giving my spell. I don't know why they do it, but church, what's going on?
How you doing, Tori? My bad. I know it's over, but I just had
rid of all the divine nine. Just get rid of, throw the whole thing out. Throw the water out, throw the baby out too, because this is getting ridiculous. And as somebody who, I have friends who are in like, sororities and things like that. And one of the things that I was told was, and I don't want to put her business out there, but let's just put it like this. These sororities are like hubs for grooming young girls into doing those rainbow acts. Let's just put it like that. And so each year you're hearing something new come out of these places. We're at this point, we're getting more bad than good out of this. So we should just shut it all down. That's just my opinion on that. But thank you for having me up, brother.
No problem. All right, I think Church is now officially the last person. Let me go ahead and hurry up and end it before someone else tries to creep up in here. But we're going to end it on that note, everybody. Video coming tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. I think I need to put the window up for it because I don't think I put it up just yet, but I'll put it up after this live is done with. With that being said, everybody, y'all enjoy the rest of the evening. Stay safe, stay pleasant, and most importantly, above all else, be one.